Okay, and here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports. The topic we're talking, Dillian Whyte versus Joseph Parker. The gloves are off. Show the preview to their big fight coming up next week, July the 28th, live on Sky Sports pay-per-view. Okay, so let's get into this. We know Joseph Parker was last seen in the UK not too long ago in a big fight as WBO champion, defending his belt against the unified champion at the time, Anthony Joshua. And Joseph Parker put on a brave performance. Went 12 rounds, didn't get knocked out, didn't get dropped, and continues not to have got dropped or stopped. That is something that his promoter, Dave Higgins, will very openly tell us and keep repeating to us. Dillian Whyte, his last performance was a knockout victory over then unbeaten Lucas Browne. With Lucas Browne now, it's all coming out the woodwork now that Lucas Browne wasn't as fit as he could have been. All the excuses are coming out about Lucas Browne. He was an antidepressant and all the rest of it. But Dillian Whyte still did the job. If Dillian Whyte hadn't done the job, then it would have been, well, Lucas Browne beat Dillian Whyte and we wouldn't be hearing any of this. So congratulations to Dillian Whyte to getting the job done. So we've got these two going at it now at this gloves are off video. Now, for me, the outset is this. Joseph Parker saying, well, he's going to redeem himself. It's redemption time. You know, he didn't perform against Joshua the way he could have done. He could have done a lot more. And that's all well and good saying those things. And yeah, people do make mistakes in life. And we do in life feel if we could give better, we can come to rectify it. Okay, and Dillian Whyte, on the other hand, feels that this is his time to shine and say that, well, you know what? I am one of the elite fighters in the world. I've just beaten Lucas Browne. I should have been fighting Deontay Wilder next. Instead, I've got to beat you. Well, I'll fight you as well. And it's not like Dillian Whyte didn't want to fight Joseph Parker. And I don't believe Joseph Parker didn't want to fight Dillian Whyte. I think these two guys would have fought one another regardless if the money was right, of course, and we'll negotiate. So, my thoughts. First and foremost, I've got a lot of love for both guys, Dillian Whyte and Joseph Parker. Both guys will fight. These guys, you know, they want to fight. So I got love for both of them. I've slightly got a little bit more love for Joseph Parker, obviously, because I've met the man on more than one occasion now, and his team, and I've worked with his team a couple of times now. So, you know, obviously I know Joseph Parker a bit more than I do Dillian Whyte. Of course, you know, I'm sure at some point I'm going to get around to meeting Dillian Whyte and get into what Dillian Whyte's got to say about things in life. So, what I will say is this, and I have big concerns for both fighters. First of all, the same things I think Dillian Whyte has to do to win the fight are the same things I think could cause Dillian Whyte to get himself knocked out. So that's the 50-50 I see there for Dillian Whyte. The same things he needs to do to beat Joseph Parker are the same things that could turn around to get him knocked out. I'll explain that in a minute. As for Joseph Parker, he's saying that he's going to have more dog in him. He's saying that he's going to do more. He's going to fight more. He's going to, you know, be more aggressive. He's learned from his mistakes. Well, you know, for me, I don't think it's a physical thing when it comes to Joseph Parker. I actually think it's a psychological thing. I really do. And here's where I'm going to break down both fighters. First of all, you come to a gloves are off to face your opponent. Okay, Johnny Nelson's in the middle. But Johnny Nelson's the one who's meant to be controlling the interview and controlling whether it be antagonizing both fighters, getting both fighters to say what they truly feel about one another. That's Johnny Nelson's role. And as the fighters, their job is to respond to questions or to respond to comments made by the opposing fighter. That's how we understand the gloves off to be. In this episode, we basically have Johnny Nelson starting the show and hosting the show, but by mid to end of the show, you've got Dillian Whyte telling Josie Parker to answer the question and basically firing things off to Josie Parker. And you'd be surprised. You actually think that actually Dillian Whyte was in control of the whole, this was the Dillian Whyte show, because Josie Parker on a few occasions was left either, I wouldn't say speechless, but didn't have much to say for himself. And sometimes people don't have much to say for themselves because they generally don't have much to say for themselves, or they are just not very good talkers. I don't think Josie Parker is not a good talker. I think he's very articulate. But what I did notice, Josie Parker saying, well, it's my coming out. It's my opportunity to talk now. I'm going to talk. I don't need Dave Higgins around because I'm going to do this. And Dillian Whyte's prodding and prodding and prodding and prodding. And there's different ways to prod and prod. And there's different ways to play the mind game. In this time, Dillian Whyte, very sly old fox, Dillian Whyte. This time, Dillian Whyte is not coming out with, oh, I'm going to beat you up and playing the bad man role. He's kind of set back this time, almost playing chess role. And he's prodding and he's pushing. And he's almost like setting up little jabs, and then throwing big right hands at Parker. And Parker is unable to get out of the way of these big shots in terms of the verbal and psychological of warfare that's going on here, because Dillian Whyte's jabbing, talking about Higgins. Then he lands a big right hand off and says, well, you can't speak without Higgins. Then he's mentioned some very big points about Josie Parker, which I mentioned when this fight was first announced. If Josie Parker can't get himself up for the biggest fight of his career, the fight that could have made him a global superstar overnight, if Josie Parker could not find a way past the referee, if Josie Parker could not put his foot down on the gas in the last 3 rounds, the championship rounds, in the biggest fight of his career, the fight that could have made him, untold amount of money and untold amount of recognition worldwide. If he couldn't do it on that platform, how the hell is he going to do it now against Dillian Whyte, who has got no belts per se? He's got no belts. I mean, if he's got a WBC silver title, well, they're great, or international title, but that's not the difference between that and beating Anthony Joshua to become unified champion and be recognized as potentially the #1 heavyweight in the world, something that even his compatriot David Tua could never have done. He's done someone better and become world champion. You've got your people come over from Samoa, the Samoans. You've got the hacker being done, all that stuff from New Zealand, and you can't get yourself up and get yourself emotionally charged to somehow snatch the titles off Anthony Joshua, or try to. And he openly admitted, Josie Parker, that he boxed smart. Dillian Whyte countered and said, no, you didn't box smart, you boxed like a coward. You basically wanted to stay on your feet for 12 rounds. So that's another blow there. I mean, you've got your people there that come to support you, and you'd rather not get knocked out and fight for another day. Is that going to come back to bite Josie Parker? I wonder. And the thing is, if it's a mental thing, Josie Parker might just be one of these guys who can't get it over the line. He might be one of these guys who has a mental block. He might be one of these guys that, you know what, I'm more happy to go 12 rounds and not get knocked out, not to be left off my feet. I've never been knocked out before as a pro. Then, I don't want to get knocked out. And he boxes within himself that he doesn't want to get knocked out. No amount of sparring and training, and that's a mental preparation. That's a psychological thing he has to get over, and that's something he's got with a sports psychologist. I'd be interested to see if Josie Parker actually has got a sports psychologist in his corner, because he's made it quite clear he's got, a trainer, and he's got an accountant, and he's got a promoter. We all know those things. But whether he's got a sports psychologist, that is something that Josie Parker desperately needs, I think, if he has not already employed one. It's a bit simple reason. You can't make that adjustment. I'm sorry. You cannot make the adjustment from the biggest fight of your career, the possibility of you becoming a global superstar. On that night, you mentally couldn't get it together. You, a few months later, are going to come back to the UK and are going to get it together. And then you're suddenly going to be a lion. No. It doesn't happen like that. I don't believe it happens like that. He may look more effective against Dillian Whyte because he's fighting a different opponent, a different style, which might be favorable to him, which may suit the same passive, aggressive style that he's got. But no, don't sit here and try and tell me that in a fight that was the biggest fight of your career you couldn't get up for, or you couldn't be aggressive for enough to take the titles off of Anthony Joshua, after well knowing and your promoter repeating, Joshua's got a glass chin, Joshua's been dropped so many times. Well, okay, he was dropped and he's been hurt and all this stuff. Well, why didn't you go for it? Your promoter said all this stuff. Well, why didn't you really go for it? Now, I love Joseph Parker, and I was slightly disappointed in the performance he put on against Joshua. I thought he would have done a lot more. He didn't. And he might have just met his level. That just might be the best that Joseph Parker can give. Now, on the flip side, Dillian Whyte. The one thing you can't question about Dillian Whyte is his heart. The fact that he'll put it on the line. You know Dillian Whyte will put it on the line. You know that Dillian Whyte will give it his all. Even if it isn't like to the liking of some people in the boxing world, he will always give it his all. That's Dillian Whyte. We saw the Chisora fight, right to the death. He was giving his all. So there's going to be no doubt that Dillian Whyte will give his all in his fight against Joseph Parker. But the same things that Dillian Whyte does, sometimes lose his head and he gives his all, the same things I believe that he can use to put Parker under pressure and potentially force a stoppage in a way that Anthony Joshua wasn't interested in doing. For me, Joshua was interested in just going the 12 rounds. He was interested in going the 12 rounds, boxing safe and securing his legacy for the next fight. That's what Joshua's game plan was. Now for Dillian Whyte, it's a totally different situation. You've got a man now that's very hungry, hasn't been a world champion, wants to be a world champion, and sees Joseph Parker as the final step to becoming world champion. So you're a different fighter. You've got a fighter in Dillian Whyte that can work to the body better. You've got a fighter that now is prepared to put it on the line more than Joshua. It's just different situation here, different fighter. So when I hear about people saying this is a 50-55, when you say 50-50, generally it's a cop-out to say, well, I'm not sure who's going to win the fight, but I'll just stay 50-50 just to be fashionable. This isn't a 50-55. This is not a 50-55. This isn't. And I'll tell you why it's not 50-55. You've got one guy in Dillian Whyte who's put it on the line time and time again. Even though he's been rocked and hurt in fights, even the Anthony Joshua fight when he went in and he was injured going into that fight. And I told you all that. He still went in there as a fighting man and gave it his all. And then you've got Joseph Parker in the biggest fight of his career, found a way to lose, found a way not to get knocked out, found a way to go 12 rounds in what he calls smart. So this isn't 50-50. If we're talking heart, it's not 50-50. And it will come down to heart in this fight. It will come down to heart and who's prepared to, you can box smart, but you can box smart and lose. And that's exactly what Joseph Parker did. He's got to box smart and win. So the thing is, when Dillian Whyte hits Joseph Parker hard for the first time, really hard, is Joseph Parker going to be interested in standing in there and having a toe-to-toe with Dillian Whyte, or is he going to get on his back foot and box? Is he going to go and revert back to type? I suspect Joseph Parker will go back to type and box. And if he doesn't, and he decides to trade with Dillian Whyte, you see, there's a situation there. Because mentally, I don't think he's set up for that. He could talk all he wants about being, he's hungry and he's determined and he's all this stuff. But ultimately, he said these things against Anthony Joshua. And they did the things he said and what he did were two different things. I got a plan A, B, C, D. He said that when he had Joshua, and I only saw one plan A. Plan A was, if I get hit hard and I don't want to get stopped, I will stay on my feet. I can fight another day. I'm going 12 rounds. I'm going to box safety first, smart, not get knocked out like Dillian Whyte did. And Joseph Parker will look at Dillian Whyte and say, well, I fought Joshua and I didn't get knocked out. You got knocked out. You weren't smart. I was smart. That's what Joseph Parker will console himself with. But that was a long time ago. And Dillian Whyte was injured going into a fight. And he's injured. And it looks like he's successfully healed now from that injury. Because I think he came back for me too soon, Dillian Whyte, with the injury. I think now he's healed from that injury. That left hook has been thrown better now. He's still a bit wild with that right hand. But overall, if Dillian Whyte is able to, and this is a warning sign to Parker and his people, which I'm sure they're going to be listening to this, if Dillian Whyte is able to dictate the terms as he was in that show, the gloves are off. The way he was able to push Parker around and get Parker to answer questions, and basically be the host, take Nelson's job from him, and dictate and maneuver Parker any which way he wanted to maneuver him. If he's able to do that outside the ring, you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to be able to maneuver Parker inside the ring. And if Parker is so placid, which he was against Dillian Whyte, he didn't show much bite. He kind of showed a little bite when Dillian started prodding him about his family and prodding him about his upbringing. And he prodded him a few things about his shirt and him being an old man, almost on the little disrespectful. He did that to see how Joseph responded. So Dillian Whyte has kind of sized up Parker right there. He's sized up Parker right, and he said to him, you know what? I didn't see any real passion from this guy. I didn't see any real hunger from this guy. I saw a guy who's set for life. This guy's set for life. Win, lose, or draw, this guy's set for life. That Joshua fight has made him. That's what you want to do. He's set. And look at the two guys, even the way they're dressed. Dillian Whyte, pair of jeans and a shirt. Not disrespect to Dillian Whyte. He could have got that shirt from anywhere. He could have got them jeans from anywhere. But then you look at the way Joseph Parker's dressed. The watch, the jacket, the suit, the tie. Two guys, you know, but the mentalities are different. You got a guy that is very hungry in Dillian Whyte, and a guy in Joseph Parker. I'm not so sure whether what Joseph Parker says and what he's able to actually do correlate. That's the thing now. He's fought at a level for a while now. The Ruiz fight was questionable. Did he win the fight? I'm not so sure. The Huey Fury fight. Did he win that fight? I'm not so sure. And now the Joshua fight. Well, he certainly didn't win that fight. Okay, it's debatable. The last three fights that Joseph Parker has fought in, he's looked great. He hasn't looked great in the last three fights. He's looked okay. So his corner, his trainer, his management have done a lot of talking. Now, if he doesn't come up to scratch in this fight, you've got to ask yourself the question, has Joseph Parker found his level? As for Dillian Whyte, he comes into the fight the underdog. Well, like I said, the same things that Dillian Whyte can do to win a fight, to win this fight, which I think for me, if a guy's got a good chin, you work the body. And there is very few boxers in the heavyweight division that work the body as well as Dillian Whyte. He's got sickening body shots. And that's where I think Dillian Whyte's going to do. He's going to go to the body, slow Parker down so he's not allowed to use those legs to get around the ring as quickly. And then later on, pile onto Parker. That's what I think is going to happen. But Dillian Whyte's still got to be careful. We saw in the Helenius fight how easily rocked he can be. We saw in the Chisora fight how he got rocked. So he has vulnerabilities himself, Dillian Whyte. So he's got to be emotionally involved to a point. But then he's got to be able to control it. He's got to show enough passion to do the work he needs to do. But at the same time, have a bit of caution. You know, as for Joseph Parker, I don't know what he's going to have to do. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can not only rise to the occasion, but actually deliver and not worry about the fact he's never been stopped and dropped. Because the big thing, his promoter talks about him never being stopped and being dropped. And that may mean more to Joseph Parker. That may mean more to Joseph Parker than actually winning a fight. You've got to ask yourself the question, in the biggest fight of your career, you didn't do it. You didn't show the heart necessary. Are you able to do it now? Yeah, you went 12 rounds. Yeah, you got on your bike. Yeah, you're boxing away, safety first. And the other question you've got to ask yourself, in the biggest fight of Joseph Parker's career, did he slip into a sparring partner mentality? Did he just, I'm just here to go safety first? And will safety first be enough to beat Dillian Whyte, who's going to be coming all guns blazing? And he's looking at Joseph Parker like a man who's coming to rob his house. You know, I don't know, but this ain't no 50-50 fight. I would say, and it all depends on what Dillian Whyte does. It really does. Because, like I said, the same things Dillian Whyte can do to win this fight, which is to engage, and he has to engage Parker. For me, he has to get on the front foot early. He has to back Parker with double jabs so he doesn't get momentum coming forward, and he needs to be landing solid shots to head and body, mixing up, pushing Parker against the ropes and bullying him and putting him in a place where he doesn't want to be, and really testing the heart to find if Parker really wants to be there. That's what he needs to do. As for Parker, he's got a better mobility, so he's got to be using the ring, using the jab, boxing from the outside. You know what I mean? Moving around, using his feet. Similar to how he fought against Anthony Joshua. I just don't see him doing anything. I don't see him doing anything different to what he did against Joshua. So that's it. Those are my thoughts. But I don't see it as 50-50. I mean, if you're talking in the heart department and who wants it more, I'm going definitely 80-20 to Dillian Whyte of who wants it more. You know, and that's it for me. That was my preview. My final prediction will come probably hopefully the week of the fight. I want to see the condition of both guys for the fight. Whether Jose Parker's going to opt for speed, which means he'll come in lighter, or he's going to opt to sit down and have a brawl and have a tear up, which he'll come in heavier. Actually, Dillian Whyte will look at what his tactics are going to be as well. So in terms of his weight, whether he's going to come in a lot lighter or he's going to come in heavier to bulk up to bully Parker. So those things are important. So then I'll know what kind of strategy both guys are going about. But those are my thoughts regarding Parker and Whyte. I think it's a good fight. It'll be interesting to see how both guys get on. Of course, don't forget, if you look in the top left-hand of the corner of the video, it says subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do that. We appreciate you as well. You know, a lot of people talk about, I want to mention this little point about the referee. People can make excuses about the referee. You've got 12 rounds to fight. You've got 12 rounds to fight. There were moments in that fight where the referee wasn't involved and there was no passion from Parker to change things, to make things happen. And ultimately, if a referee comes in the ring again and Parker's faced a similar situation again with a referee that's going to help Whyte, then, you know, at the end of the day, it's deja vu, isn't it? You're coming to another man's backyard. You're fighting overseas, yeah? You're fighting in a man's backyard. You expect things to be favourable for you. It's a poor excuse about the referee. Poor excuse. Whyte lost every round versus Joshua. William, just some very key points here. If anyone goes back to listen to my preview of Dillian Whyte versus Anthony Joshua, I warned you, boxing fans. I told you that Dillian Whyte was injured going into this fight and his fitness wasn't great, and he was just going to give it a go. That's the facts. Those are the absolute facts. That was then clarified or proven 2 days later. He went in to have surgery. He was injured before going into that fight. So there we go. That's the preview. Thank you all so much. Much appreciated. We're out of here. Take care.